this on? You're on. I'll wait for Miss Messer. All right, we're ready. All right, I'd like to call our meeting to order August 23rd, 2021. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, this meeting has been duly advertised in the South Jersey Times and the Sentinel. The municipal clerk of the township has been duly notified, and the requirements of posting of notices have been met. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Trish, would you call the roll, please?
Selig? Here. Cunningham? Here. DeSilvio? Fregoso? Here. Delcy Collins? Here. Keene?
Here.
Metzger? Here. Trace? Here. Bray?
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. First on our agenda this evening is a presentation from Mrs. Dubzanski regarding our final HIB grade, I guess, for the prior school year.
Good evening, everybody. This will be very short. This is basically, this is the bullying report from 2019-20. So we're kind of behind. So what happens is that we have to submit our self-assessment to the state. So each principal does it with a client committee. We submit the self-assessment to the state, and then they review it based on all the information that we provide throughout the year. And this is just affirmation that they agree with the grades that we gave ourselves. So we already posted this on the website. So just to kind of review, because I went in depth for submitting on the self-assessment, but the overall score was a 76, the maximum was a 78, failure was a 72, with the maximum being a 78, and Mayberry was a 71, with the maximum being a 78. So all the areas that we assessed ourselves in, they agree with our scores. So this is just to affirm that. So I'll look those on the website.
Great.
Anybody have questions? Thank you.
Thank you. There's no action on that, right? Sure. Okay. All right, we'll move right into our public comment section. Typically, this first public comment is related to agenda items only, but given the fact that we do have quite a few members in the public and we do have an executive session immediately after this public comment, I'd like to open it up to any public comment, not limited specific to agenda items. That way, you guys, obviously you're more than welcome to stay throughout the entire meeting, but you won't feel the need to be compelled to waiting for the second public comment portion. So with that, I make a motion we open to the public. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Is there anyone from the public which would wish to be heard? Please step up to the microphone, state your name.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Spagnano, sixth grade teacher at River School. Good evening, members of the board. I am John Spagnano, and I'm about to begin my 31st year of teaching here in Franklin BOE. While I have not been perfect in all of my interactions with students, I believe that the majority of the students I have taught, as well as their parents, would say that I've always had their best intention of my children in mind. It is with this intention that I am addressing you this evening. A couple of weeks ago, before Governor Murphy left for his trip to Italy, a country that is still in lockdown, he mandated that all students and staff wear masks in schools for the beginning of the school year. As you are aware, we will be in school full days this year, which means our students will be masked, including their bus rides, for between 7 and 8 hours or more. Additional guidelines regarding spacing of desks will also mean that our classrooms will not be true interactive learning environments they should be. Finally, the governor, who claimed in the spring that there will be no virtual option for students, is now directing that we provide this option for students. The question you need to ask is this really the best thing for our children? This board, under the direction and leadership of Mr. Walton, had our schools open all year last year. In the last few weeks of school, masks were optional. Despite the ongoing conversation regarding the virus, I am unaware of any major health issue incurred by a student or staff member. I will also add that most of our students chose not to wear masks the last few weeks of the school year. And yet, there were no comments made to other students who chose to wear masks. Additionally, the true numbers suggest that there is no need to require masks of students. Based on statistical information that I have gathered, I would say that it certainly is not. Over a 3-year period from 2017 to 2020, the total number of children who died from the flu in the United States totaled 1,554. This is children under the age of 18. Consider also that the CDC, which is where this information can be found, considers flu season a 5-month period from November until March. According to the CDC, in the 20 months of COVID, 430 children have died from the virus as of August 18th. The death of any child is tragic, be it because of the flu, COVID-19, or any other cause. The overall survival rate for children is 99.997%. And for students under 70, or adults under 70, the survival rate is 99.85%. In my 32 years in the classroom, I've noted many times when student and staff attendance was reduced due to the flu or other viruses. However, we didn't close schools, change classroom configurations, try to keep children away from each other, mask our children, and allow virtual learning in these situations. We continue with learning and instruction, and when students return to school, we call them up. What is my point? First, the decision to mask children should be left up to parents and no one else. As to staff and teachers, masking should also be a personal choice. The state of New Jersey can offer guidance, but in a free and equal society, the choice should be an individual one. Second, each school board should be able to manage the health concerns as it sees fit. The whole purpose of the local board of education is that decisions regarding schooling and education should be just that, localized. In June, I urged this board to inform the governor that masking should be district and individual choice. I believe the members who were here that evening voted in favor of this. But now the stakes are high, and our children are being affected. I am sure many of you saw the wonderful letter the Brick Township Board of Education sent to Mr. Murphy. If not, it should be available on Facebook, unless, of course, it has been removed. I urge the Franklin Township Board of Education to follow Brick Township and many other school boards in the state and tell the governor that a mandatory mask mandate is not good for our children and not good for our district. I urge you to demand that you as a board, on behalf of the parents and children you represent, are given back your power to manage this school district. Unmask our children. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Tagline. Sure. Yeah. I mean, you want to comment now?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Borelli would like to comment, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's an opportune time to make a comment, not necessarily in response to Mr. Stagliano, but to make sure everyone is aware. I believe most of you are, but if not, to make sure officially for the record, everyone is aware that there is an executive order 251 by the governor. Based upon that order, everybody in this room at this point should be wearing a mask. I want to make sure you're aware of that. I'm not the enforcer, however, it is enforceable. Can be enforceable by being deemed a disorderly person's offense with penalties. So I want to make sure everybody is aware of the potential that if someone chose to call that out, that it could be done. I understand there's a very split feeling about this, but as a solicitor, I have to say that the order right now is in place. Unless it's changed, until it's changed, that is the mandate. The governor has the power to do that. You have the power to vote them out. You have the power to express your opinion. However, as of this moment, that is what's in place.
excuse me, you just have to be quiet and listen to everything that everybody's saying, okay? Thank you.
We're still in public comment portion. Is there anyone else that would like to come up and make a comment at this time? Sure.
So, from my son, he'll be going to the second grade. His name is Samuel.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't mean to cut you off, but can you please state your name for the record?
I'm sorry. Nicole Nieves.
Okay, thank you.
My son Samuel is going in the second grade. So I know last year a lot of information came out more the year and updates and things like that. Do we have a reopening plan that is later than June 24th that is published?
Yeah, we do, actually. We'll be discussing that this evening, and I think the intention of the administration is to send that plan out tomorrow as a result of our discussions this evening. As was pointed out by Mr. Stagliano, things seem to change on a fairly regular basis, so we didn't want to preemptively put that plan out too early in the year, knowing that it would more than likely change. So is that correct, Mr. Walton,
That is correct.
that guidance will be going out tomorrow as of right now?
Once that comes out, who do we direct our questions to if we have any more after that?
You can direct them to Mr. Walton, the superintendent.
Yep. Hi, Nicole, how are you? I haven't seen you in a long time. We are also going to have an open Zoom meeting as we did last year, so that advertisement will go out with our guidance document tomorrow. It'll be on the web page, but it's also going to go out email blast to every home, and then we're going to hold off on putting the link up. The Zoom meeting is going to be on Tuesday next week. Just, the hackers get into the Zoom meeting link, so we're going to hold off sending that out till probably Monday next week. You'll get the link, but you'll get the invitation tomorrow.
Thank you. Just for clarification, Mr. Walton, that Zoom meeting will be similar to the one that we did last year, like an open forum?
Just an open forum, live chat, anybody to ask questions, but I also set up an email address. It's called, the address is reopening@franklinwhipschools.org. You can send any questions right to that. It comes directly to my email, and we'll be glad to answer.
And what are the hours of that meeting?
We set it up from 10 to 1, but you don't have to be on there the whole time. You can log on, ask your question, and then log
Certainly,
on.
if you work and you're unable to log on, we're always available, after hours directly.
Absolutely.
So, is there anyone else from the public?
I can record it.
Yeah, please step right up. Please just state your name before you comment.
My name is Amanda Lemon, and I don't want to prepare a speech or anything like that. I do have a second grader who will be at gym here in the next couple weeks, as well as a 3-year-old who will be at gym here in the next couple years. In addition to that, I myself am a first grade teacher in another district, and so as an educator, I understand wanting to follow the executive order and not wanting to challenge it. However, as a parent and also as an educator to students that are young including my 3-year-old, who has been for the past year and a half part of this debacle, in my opinion, of course. Okay? I don't know what else to say besides I think it should be parents' choice. And I'm not somebody to ever come up and stand in front of an audience ever besides my little kids in my classroom. And if they told me as an educator, you need to wear a mask to keep your children safe, I would do that. I don't really think it would actually help. However, if that's what it's believed that other people believe that to keep my children safe in my classroom, if the trade-off was that their parents could choose, I would do that. I would give that up, give my liberty, my freedom up for that, so that the kids and the parents could have it, because that's where the freedom should be. It should not be up to the governor whether or not my child has a mask on their face all day. And like this other educator here said behind me, it's all day. All day. So you're saying from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. my child will pretty much have a mask on their face the whole time. And because he's a rule follower, he will do it. Is that healthy? You don't know. We don't know. Now we're just thinking it might be. To me, the risk outweighs the risk of COVID, because like I said, it's affecting every single child. That is affecting every child. That is affecting every single child. COVID is not affecting every child. And at what point last year, and I'll say this too, in his first grade classroom, to no fault of his teacher or the district or the safety guidelines put out when we were in the midst of not knowing what to do, and people were scrambling to keep everyone safe. And I'm grateful that Franklin Township was in personal year. My district was not, and my students suffered from that. So I felt grateful. We actually just moved here last summer. So if I hadn't moved here, my son would have been removed a lot more. But anyway, when I looked at pictures of my son's first grade classroom and saw them all sitting in their own little cubicle desks and with their Chromebooks and their plastic sheets or plastic borders in front of them, it was like sickening to me. Because as a first grade teacher myself, I said, whoa, that does not look like a first grade classroom at all. That looks like a bunch of little adults working in cubicles. And it was sickening. And I just don't want that to continue. I understand we've done it. We've been there, we've done that. I just feel like we need to start moving in a direction that is a little bit more child developmentally friendly. So that's really all I have to say.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else from the public? Would you like to comment? Please step up.
My name is Melissa German, and I have a son who's going into first grade. He started off kindergarten. Obviously, we know everything with last year how he started. And all the kindergartens have started that way. Now it's full-time school. So he's going to have to be masked from 7 a.m. because of the daycare, says my husband and I both work. Then go until 4 p.m. straight in the mask. In my eyes, that is child abuse. Everything Mr. Stagliano said and the other educator said, point on. I'm also an educator. I teach middle school in another district. I saw what it did to the kids in the classroom. Not wanting to wear it, taking them off. And I'm in a middle school. They have a hard time. Now you go to the young children. It's like, to me, it's like a muzzle on their face. COVID does not affect many children. That's a fact. 99.99% survive. So why are they sitting in these little, it looks like cages? When I saw my son's classroom, and it wasn't his teacher's fault, he had an amazing teacher. first developed, I fully understand the need. We didn't know much about it. More is known about this now. This it's like social traumatic for these children. I just can't express that enough. And it breaks my heart to have to send my 6-year-old to school in a mask from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. That is heartbreaking as a parent. When is it going to end? It's been a year and a half. No one has a right to tell me what I need to do with my child. It should be a parent's choice. I don't send my children to school sick. I would never do that. I would hope other parents don't do that as well. The sick children do not belong in school. However, to keep going along with this and not allowing parent choice, that is wrong. There are districts in New Jersey that have full-on the school board parent choice. Franklin Township needs to have the courage to do parent choice as well. Allow the parents to choose if they want to send them in a mask this way, send them, that's fine. If they choose not to, that is fine as well. Are we in a democracy? Or is this like living in communism? I'm sorry, I just cannot get past all this. Me, of what I see as an educator and what I see as a parent, it is heartbreaking. Children need normalcy. They need to have a normal childhood. They have lost so much in a year and a half. It'll be 2 years. Is it going to be 3 years? Is it going to be 4 years? When is the end going to be? They need to live their life, and there's a way to go about it. Allowing parents to choose for their children. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for responding. Is there any other members of the public which would like to comment? Good evening.
My name is Chrissy Bellestrom. I am a mother of 5 who are in this district. I'm also a 911 EMC who worked all during the pandemic. I firsthand know that COVID did not affect children like older adults or people that had medical conditions. And like this gentleman said, there is an executive order, it's not a law. There are things that you guys can do to stand up for our children and give us personal choice as parents to mask them. I have a daughter that's going to be going to the kindergarten. She does not want to go to school in a mask. My other children were sent home last year because of anxiety issues. They were throwing up, they couldn't breathe. My son has asthma. He had issues with half day in a mask. The buses were hot. I mean, these kids should have a choice whether to be at home or go to school with their friends. My kids want to go to school. They don't want to wear a mask. So when I'm asking, if you guys can try to fight like the other districts in New Jersey have and stood up, we need to fight for our kids and nobody else does.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one, I make a motion to close the first public comment section. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? I'd just like to thank everyone for their comments this evening. Again, we do have another public comment portion later on this evening at the conclusion of our meeting, and it seems as though everyone's here regarding the masking issue. And I'd just like to point out that we do have that topic on our agenda listed this evening, where we will be discussing, what options we have within the bounds of the executive order as a board moving forward with the masks. So, want to welcome to stay and hear that discussion if you'd like. We do have the need for an executive session this evening, which we're going to do at this time. The purpose of which would be personnel, legal, and also some potential contract negotiations. So at this time, I make a motion. We go into executive session at 6:29. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? anticipation of time?
45 minutes, I guess, would be a fair, I mean,
Could be potentially up to 45 minutes, hopefully
hopefully short.
quicker, yeah. Yeah. So we'll be back with you shortly. When's our next meeting, Troy? September what?
15th, I
And
believe,
when's
is the
school
work
start?
session.
When school starts?
School starts on May the 6th or 7th, that Tuesday, 6th. The September 15th is the work session.
Gotcha.
And school starts on the 7th.
Okay.
For kids, teachers come on the 1st.
Gotcha. All right, I make a motion, we come out of our executive session, 7:14. Do I have a second? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? All right, back in regular session. Next item on our agenda is board president report. I don't have anything to report specifically, but I would just like to wish all of our staff and students a good start to the school, as this will be our last meeting before school starts. So hopefully it's a nice, smooth start with no hiccups. Pass that along if you could, please. Mr. DeSilvio is not with us this evening. He sends his regards. He had a delayed flight from Florida, so I don't feel that bad for him, but he is stuck in Florida at the moment. So he will not be reporting this evening. So I'll move on to our minutes. We have our minutes from work session and regular board meeting from July the 19th. If everyone has had an opportunity to review them. We also have meeting minutes from our special board meeting from August the 4th. Can I merge those? I can merge those together, right, in one motion? Yeah. If you've had an opportunity to review those as well, are there any questions or comments or revisions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve the minutes from 7:19 as well as 8/4/21 special board meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? All right, moving on, human resources. Mr. Walton.
Yep, human resources, we reviewed all the changes in the back, so really, just any questions?
Any questions, any human resources items? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve human resources items G1 through G15 as recommended by the superintendent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other questions, comments? If not, can you call the roll, please, Trish?
Joseph Collins? Yes. Keen? Yes. Metzger? Yes. Trace? Yes. Caselli? Yes. Cunningham? Yes. Brant?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, education items?
Yep, education items, so each one is empty. H2, we have a few student council fundraisers to approve this evening. H3 is empty. H4, a few workshops in regards to the opening in service and some preschool, not preschool, but startup schools, some trainings that some of our employees need listed there for you to approve. 5 and 6 are empty. E7, we have just some housekeeping items here, the memorandum to participate in the Title III Consortium, and then the approval of the Danielson rubric and the NJ people rubric as far as the principals and supervisors are concerned, and then our annual submission of the district professional development plan, the mentoring plan. That's it for education.
Under the programs, the fundraisers, that McDonald's one, is that the one that they actually have at McDonald's?
I believe so, Mr. Peters, does that sound correct?
Okay. That's the one where you cook all the burgers and stuff?
I usually take the orders and make them at work.
Okay, I got you.
We do really enjoy that.
Gotcha. I wanted to make sure that was the one, because I definitely want to attend. So.
We'll make sure that we send something out.
Okay, great. Yeah. I was going to give you credit for not screwing up my order, but I guess you're not making it, so you're just taking the order. So.
They don't let me flip the burger.
No.
I don't know how much they flip the burger.
All right. Is there any questions on our education items? If not, I make a motion to approve education items H1 through H7 as recommended by the superintendent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other comments? If not, could you call the roll, please, Tricia?
Cunningham? Yes. Fregoso?
Yes.
Joseph Collins? Yes. Keeney?
Yes.
Metzger?
Yes.
Trace?
Yes.
Caselli?
Yes.
Brant?
Yes.
Motion carries.
General administration.
Yep, just our general monthly items here, student enrollment under I1, sorry about that. Obviously nothing under student attendance. Our emergency drills are listed there from the summer school program. Nothing for the HIB and, the discipline and vandalism and violence table. We did have one HIB investigation that we reviewed there from the summer school program. And then the I6 would just be the affirming those results. So that's it for general item.
Anyone have any questions, comments? If not, I make a motion to approve general administration items I1 through I6 as recommended by the superintendent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any final comments? If not, could you call the roll, please, Trish?
Caselli?
Yes.
Cunningham?
Yes.
Fregoso?
Yes.
Joseph Collins?
Yes.
Keeney?
Yes.
Metzger?
Yes.
Trace?
Yes.
Brant?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Operations, Trish?
Item number 1, claims and payroll for the month of July. As listed, does anybody need time to look at those or were they looked at previously?
Anybody need additional time? If not, we can go ahead and move on.
None, moving on. Item 2, 3, and 4 are for the month of June 21st, or June 2021. Budget transfers, board certification, and board secretary report, and treasurer report. Item number 5 is none, as there was no cafeteria action. Number 6 is the out-of-district listing, 2 students. Questions on that? Number 7 is the in-district, a commission for the blind for 1 student. 8, 9, 10 are none. Item 11 is the bus routes as of current for the 21-22 school year. Questions? Item 12 is the backup and cul-de-sacs for the 21-22 school year, listed with the backups and or turnarounds on those streets. Questions?
Is this the same as always this, Trish?
Yes,
Yeah.
there was nothing new under that.
All right.
Item 13 is none. Item 14 is the use of facilities for the Franklin Township Recreation Day to be held on 9/25. Disposal of surplus property is listed. And again, those are buses that are no longer roadworthy and or outlived their 15 or 20-year life span. Number 16 is the new Dell leases for the 21-22 school year. There are purchases to be listed out there over 4 years or 5 years as listed. 17 is the Title I salary allocations for fiscal year 22. And item 18 is the ARP IDEA submission of the grants with the amounts for IDEA basic, $57,327, and IDEA preschool, $4,876. And that is it for operations. Questions? Anything?
On the disposal of surplus property, what's the year? Is it mileage and or year, or
It
just?
depends if it's a pusher, a flat nose bus.
Right.
Some of those are 15, some of them are 20, if they're not a flat nose bus. And then some of them are just too old and or have too much mileage and or are falling apart and not repairable.
Gotcha. So there's no benefit to keeping any of these for like a backup? I guess we already
No,
have
We
backups?
pretty much sell them on gov deals. I think we get $500, $1,000 for 1 or 2, so.
How is the used bus market right now? Is it similar to the used car market?
I would say no.
Inflationary? No, we shouldn't expect to get any more? Okay.
We typically don't have a problem getting rid of them, but we do have a few listed here. Typically, we only have maybe 1 or 2.
Okay.
So these could hang on for a while. But we'll see.
All right. Any questions? Anyone? If If not, I make a motion to approve Operations Committee items J1 through J18 as recommended by the superintendent. Do I have a second? Any other comments? If not, if you call the roll, please, Trish.
Keen? Metzger? Trace?
Yes.
Caselli?
Yes.
Cunningham?
Yes.
Fregoso?
Yes.
Joseph Collins? Brant?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Cool. Yeah, before we go on to old business, just real quick, the community day, are we having we typically set up a booth and everything?
Yep, on the 25th.
You looking for volunteer board members, or?
Always looking for volunteer. board
Obviously,
members.
we'll discuss it again in September,
Yeah,
but
and I'll put it in the weekly update.
if anybody wants to, you just kind of hang out at the booth and,
We're
yeah,
going
we're gonna work, with the strategic,
We're going
plan
to try to
survey
get
and everything.
internet set up out there, and we have little water bottles we hand out. We can just have conversations.
Should we do something?
We usually, as a board member, yeah,
Tattoos? Right?
usually the administration does all the hard work, and you kind of just stand there and take the credit for it.
When people come over to you, and
Right.
surveys out, you do something.
I'll put glitter.
What are you doing, Miss Morley? All right, well, you guys are in charge of that then.
But we can, I'm saying, if you want to do something.
Yeah, I don't think there's any prohibitions in that, is there, Troy? If somebody wanted to donate something, or a giveaway, or something like that, other than the water bottles, there's nothing?
I don't know, 'cause it depends what it is.
As long as it's not as a political nature or anything like that, I would say. Okay, moving on to old business, strategic planning. We're still looking for, I guess,
Yeah, so this is really just doubling back from
Volunteers.
the weekly update. The advisory committee, Michelle was my only one that had stepped forward. Alicia inquired about it, but, it's tough with little ones at home, sure. So, any other board member?
I mean, I was originally on it. I don't mind doing it. I just thought since I'm not running again, everybody else might do it instead. Doesn't look that way. Huh? Doesn't look that way. I know.
Well, it's four meetings in October, correct? I believe,
Yeah, something like that. September, October.
so we'll list Michelle and Dawn as of now, and then,
I'm good. I don't know how
Okay.
many meetings. I'm
No,
fine.
yeah, we just, I think Bill said two. So,
all right, Dawn, you're off the hook. Leah took your spot. Yeah.
Dawn and Leah,
No, I'm sorry, Leah, you did say you would do it, right? With the mask, I don't know who's talking, so it's
We
you,
got
right?
Leah?
Yeah, okay. Leah and Michelle.
Okay. Was there any input on additional members? I don't know if you had the opportunity to take a look. I kind of put out there who was on the committee before, some community members, and I'm going to send out the invites. That's who was on before. I haven't sent out the invites, so I haven't gotten an RSVP back yet. But was there any other input from the board?
Yeah, I mean, we're still getting through the meeting.
Oh, yeah. But-
You're talking about community members, correct?
As long as they say yes, then we'll have to go back to Joel.
Okay.
Do we have any like business? Like industry people?
Let me pull that up.
Like local business owner maybe or something?
Business owners in town. I mean, if you guys have suggestions, let me know. I'll send, I mean, the most they can say is no. I'll be glad to send them an invite. Right now, business owners. Yeah, I have Jake. Actually, I spoke with Jake. I ran into him. He's interested. I don't see business owners per se. If you want to shoot me, but you have to do it shortly. Shoot me an email with somebody that you might think's a good business owner in town that would serve the role. I'll be glad to send them an invite. Okay. And the second thing on there was the survey questions. Was there any feedback? Alicia had sent me feedback. She thought it was all good. That's really all I received. I sent you exactly what we had sent out in the past. So
So everybody's good with the survey question? No addition?
The question I had, Joy, is do you want to add anything based on what people have experienced in the last year? You know what I mean? Is there anything that we've experienced in the last year and a half that we should keep doing? Maybe they, you know what I'm saying? That was my only thought.
And I had mentioned that to Bill. We asked a similar question at the end of our survey.
Yeah.
So I had mentioned that to Bill already, but really this was more about, your feedback.
Okay.
Let me write myself a note.
District goals update.
Well, hold on, we got one more.
You got one more?
Representative survey questions, advisory committee. All right, yeah, no, that's good. Let me just write myself a note here. Now I put district goal update on just to keep it on our radar. We've had conversations in regards to what the tiers would look like. Michelle had sent me a question that I'm going to formulate an answer. I just didn't have time today. And we'll get that out with the weekly update on kind of what we're doing to start the year. But once we give that baseline testing, then we'll be able to put the kids in the tiers and then determine how much stretch growth we want them to make. So long story short, again, we were tied up doing interviews today, so we'll get you something in the weekly update. I'll put Michelle's question in there with the weekly update, hoping to be able to formulate those. I would say September, but we do have that Start Strong assessment that the DOE is requiring us to administer also. So depending on the time and effort that takes, will depend on the time and effort with our baseline. It's a fair statement, Jane?
Did you say September or October?
I didn't say. I said depending on how much time the Start Strong takes.
Yeah, we have a plan for when we're gonna get the Start Strong. Hopefully it'll work out. It shouldn't take long to get that, but
Okay.
in conjunction with all of the other universal screeners and when those will be done, should be by mid-October.
Okay.
So we're using a culmination instead of just iReady?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
We're using a culmination of our assessments as opposed to just utilizing iReady? Like
Yeah,
the
we don't
initial
just
goal.
use iReady.
I know, but I mean, the initial goal was just utilize iReady.
It did, but
Yes.
to put students in tiers.
We're gonna use the.
We use our universal screeners, diagnostics,
Got it.
so multiple measures.
Got it, okay.
So is that it? Yeah. Any other questions about district goals? If not, we'll move on to new business. Listed under new business is obviously the question of the mask mandates and the status of where we're at right now. We did discuss in our executive session some of our potential options regarding the executive order, and what the district can do to support, obviously, the parents and the students within the boundaries of the executive order without, getting ourselves in any kind of legal trouble based on the advice of our attorney. So we have a couple options on the table this evening. We had previously sent a letter to the governor urging him to reconsider the last time he mandated the mask. So we have that option available to us to send a follow-up letter from our administration, again, reiterating the overwhelming survey results we got in the district and the feeling of the board regarding the mask mandates and the fact that we believe they should be optional and that decision left to the parent. There's also the opportunity for us to join as a plaintiff in a current pending lawsuit against the governor and some other individuals regarding the legalities of the executive order. There's also the option for us to simply pass a resolution in support of that lawsuit without the necessity of actually becoming a named plaintiff. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
Mr. Borelli? I think those are the three things that we discussed. Is there anything else? that any board members wanted to add, or ideas or comments?
Well, we did also discuss policy, possibly passing policy that would, within the day, mandate when masks need to be off according to the exemptions. That was not well received by most of the board. I'd also like to make a resolution that, like Middle Township, we accept individual or parental testimonial letters for mass exemptions.
Okay. How would we handle that, Mr. Borelli, if there was a proposal by,
I didn't quite hear what Michelle
could you repeat
said.
yourself, Michelle, please?
In Middle Township's resolution, the district shall accept an individual or parental testimonial letter as evidence that wearing a mask inhibits an individual's health. Any such letter must describe how wearing a mask specifically affects the individual or student. General statistics or assertions about mask wearing are not acceptable.
You want to know what my thought is regarding?
Well, I mean, that's regarding implementing a policy or passing a policy resolution. That's probably something we're not prepared to do this evening because we don't have the language written. Is that something that's an option for us at a later date, or how would we handle that if in fact that resolution was brought
Well,
to the
my
floor?
concern with the resolution regarding trying to fit into one of the exemptions is that the executive order itself says that we should not adopt any policies that would try to inhibit the purpose of the order. I understand there's always gray areas and everything, but to be very cautious about, adopting a resolution or a policy that may be going beyond what the intent of the exemption is.
If the board wanted to memorialize what our position was in more detail, aside from the resolutions that we just spoke about, how would that transpire? Is that something that we should do individually, and forward that to myself or to you to try and put that together in some sort of resolution so it's clear, or what do you?
Yeah, we would have to have something that if the board's going to vote on it or stand behind it, it has to be something that's agreed upon as far as the language. I think the resolution regarding support of the litigation is pretty self-explanatory. We're supporting what they're seeking in the litigation. As far as trying to establish how you go about falling into the exemptions, I think you have to very carefully fashion that in some way to be acceptable and not be in violation of the order.
Right. Is that acceptable to you, Michelle? Or maybe in the interim between now and our next meeting, we can look at that further if we have another resolution from another district.
Pending a resolution if it's not going to be supported.
Well, we don't know what's going to be supported until we actually
Well, we can take a straw vote.
vote on it. Okay, is there a possibility we could vote on
You could vote on
the potential to draft a guidance document further specifying how we're handling the executive order, so to speak?
the understanding it's not going to be adopted, it's going to be
Reviewed.
before it's adopted.
Right.
It would be something that would be trying to set a framework for how someone could utilize the exemptions, I think is what you're getting at, right?
Yeah, essentially, memorializing, the position of the board as it relates to the exemptions, so on and so forth.
I think Michelle's correct. If the board doesn't feel that that's the direction that the board should be taking, we should take the time to do it.
So for the purpose of this evening, it would be essentially a vote to explore that as an option? That'd be,
I think maybe you're going beyond that. You're saying, does the board support actually adopting that type of resolution? And if so, to try to formulate the wording for further consideration. If the board isn't really interested in trying to do that, then we would proceed with it.
sure.
Are we talking about, I'm sorry, are we talking about two, we're talking about one
Right, this is a third, yeah, this is a completely third option.
The issue about whether or not we want to, when you say put out guidelines, I just want to clarify. You mean like, and I'm feeling like that's not for us to put together who would do, like how the exemption would play out, but are we saying like something so that the principals and the teachers are all on the same page about how to operationalize the exemption? I'm trying to understand.
Well, that could be something that's put into effect if we don't go to the point where we allow for parent choice for masking. And yes, that would be the next best thing, if you want to call it that I think we could do.
Is there any other comments or questions on that?
Doesn't that directly define what we're issued by the governor, that it says that we were not supposed to do?
No, it's not.
That's why I said it in the beginning, you're flirting with that because are you actually going beyond the exemptions? Or are you just defining how to go about exercising? I mean, I'm looking at the sample resolution from, I think it's Middletown, indicating a parent testimonial letter indicating that it inhibits an individual's health.
Did all the board members have a chance to review that resolution by any chance?
The link is there.
It was attached to the agenda. I mean, in other words, it's more so, it's almost like a policy document, like if we enacted a policy about, recess, it's like enacting a policy about the masks, right? I mean, is that a good way to summarize it? Somewhat?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with going about trying to help people define how to fall within the exemptions, as long as you're not stepping into rewriting the
Executive
the
order.
or going against the order, or rewriting the order, the executive order that the governor has adopted. And that's obviously a line, it's the moving line, cross it, beyond, depends how far you go, and then whether it goes beyond just advising or changes the exemption or expands the exemption, so to speak.
Right. So is anybody opposed to looking at that? Or?
Doesn't make sense for it to come from the doctor, like the parent can't just say, this is a health risk for my kid, right? It has to be
Well,
medical, something backing that up.
I think that's where the gray area is, and we're trying to define the gray area.
And this sample resolution says the district shall accept an individual or parental testimonial letter as evidence that wearing a mask inhibits an individual's health.
Just the executive order, does that go against the executive order, or is that within the executive order?
Can you read the executive order?
I think it's a stretch, I really do, because you're basically saying exactly something that affects.
Well, just the part that has to do with the health.
It's not public.
Just the wording on the actual executive order.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah, could you read the language specifically?
The one
The
exemption-
exceptions?
There's several exemptions, and one says, when doing so would inhibit the individual's health, such as when the individual is exposed to extreme heat indoors.
Right, so it doesn't say who's
Ma'am.
determining the health issue.
I apologize, we're not in public portion right now. Yeah,
I just felt like it's relevant to the
yeah.
conversation.
There'll be another public comment section where you can comment. So anyway, at this point, while you guys think about that, I'll put the first resolution on the floor. I make a motion that we direct our solicitor to send a letter of support in the Afrin litigation, we'll call it, as we discussed. Do I have a second on that motion? Seconded. Can you call the roll, please, Trish?
Wait, what is this one? Who seconded?
Dawn. Jen, I'm sorry. And this is a resolution directing our solicitor to send a letter of support for the litigation that was brought by, I'm using the attorney's name, Bruce Afrin, for multiple plaintiffs against multiple defendants regarding the mask mandate. That was the complaint that was attached to the agenda that you guys reviewed. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions? Everybody clear on what we're voting on now?
Says directly in the executive order from the governor, penalties for violations of the order may be imposed on the homeowners and or statute. It says the municipality, county, or any other agency or political subdivision of the state shall enact or enforce any order, rule, regulation, ordinance, or resolution which will or might in any way conflict with the provisions of this order. If so, it will be fine.
We're adhering to the exemptions.
Yeah, that's part of
We're interpreting the exemptions.
the executive order. Let's circle back to that.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a motion, a second, to support the litigation that I referenced. That litigation can be found attached to your agenda. If there's any members of the public that would like a copy, we can get you a copy. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but it's essentially a suit filed again against the governor on various counts regarding the mask mandate and parental choice, so on and so forth. So
Supporting that parents should have a choice, writing a letter saying that parents should have a choice.
it's supporting the litigation, right?
Is that what we're voting on?
Correct.
Just to be clear.
Yeah, just to be clear.
It's going to be supporting the
Supporting the litigation,
lawsuit
right?
and the
Lawsuit
relief,
is already in place. We're
the
supporting
relief
that.
requested in the lawsuit.
Right.
I understand what Leah's saying about, that in itself sounds like it's going against the order, but I can't say that there's no right to this litigation or to join in litigation. I think we still have that right. So I'm not as concerned about that one.
Okay. Any other questions? So we're all clear what we're voting on. Call the roll, please, Trish.
Caselli? Cunningham?
Yes.
Fregoso?
Yes.
Jessica? Dean?
Yes.
Metzger?
Yes.
Trace?
Yes.
Brand?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. The second motion is going to be to direct the administration via the superintendent to send a letter to the governor reiterating our position that we took previously, that we believe that the choice to mask your children should lie with the parents. So, does that sum up that cover? That would be a follow-up to the letter that we previously sent. So, the one we just voted on was, I assume that's directed to the courts, to the attorney representing those multiple plaintiffs. So this is a follow-up to our previous letter to the governor. So, Mr. Walton, you clear as to what that letter should state? Okay.
I wrote the first one?
Yeah. So you just change the date and send it back again. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
All right, second. Any other questions on that? If not, could you call the roll, please, Trish?
Cunningham?
Yes.
Fregoso?
Yes.
Jessica?
No.
Dean?
Yes.
Metzger?
Yes.
Trace?
Yes.
Caselli? Brand?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And I guess the third motion would be whether or not we want to explore the idea of passing a guidance resolution, so to speak, regarding the executive order. Again, voting to approve this would not be voting to approve what the guidance is. It's simply to explore that and draft that guidance for further discussion and possible adoption at a later date. So,
You're proposing to write a resolution which directly applies the government, correct?
I think it's up to interpretation whether or not it defies it. I'm proposing a resolution.
Which could involve penalties to be imposed upon us.
Again, I'm yeah. My motion is to have that further discussion at a later date. Now, again, what the outcome of that discussion is and what that ultimate document looks like, you know, is to be seen. I mean, we don't have that written right now, but
So to be clear, we could pass right now saying that we want to essentially, it's going to do that, right? Who's going to do that, who's going to put the guidance together?
That would be,
well, I think, yeah, I think it would be, yeah.
We're not going to be the ones putting it together, but we're certainly be telling them.
Well, I think, yeah, there could be input from,
You guys have it, and it's worth passing, that's how I'm interpreting it, right? Right now, we're saying, yes, please go forth and discover what we might be able to do and where we might be able to do something without getting fined. That's
Right.
how I'm interpreting it.
exactly, yeah.
And then, I mean, you can either do the motion, or you can just take a look at Middletown Township resolution. I think, Michelle, that's what you're sort of basing your suggestion on. So, I mean, you can read it between now and the next meeting, even if you didn't have a motion.
Okay.
But we would still have guidance from you on whether or not that would put us at risk of not going too far over your executive order, or how would that work?
Yes, I think I've given you some feedback on that already.
Even, because we didn't discuss that.
We didn't actually look at that, no.
Right, so in your opinion, that goes against the executive order, or?
Well, I'd like to take a closer look at it, and it might be something that's more appropriate than attorney-client setting in an executive session.
Okay, so at this point, we'll just expect to see something at, on our agenda at our next meeting, something
Right, and have everybody review.
similar, extremely similar to, or identical to the resolution that was passed by, who was it, Wall Township? Middletown.
Just looking into it.
Yeah,
Just looking into it.
yeah, I mean, so theoretically, we might come back here in September, and it might be on the agenda to vote on that at that time, and then you would have an opportunity to obviously either support it or not support it.
And I'll
So-
discuss it with Mr. Walton, and we'll talk about whether, what we come up with an opinion as to whether you think it's appropriate or not together.
Was that the only exception, or do you want to look at the other? In terms of the temperature outside, or anything like that, was there anything else?
Well, yeah, I mean, if we are going to not allow parental choice in terms of the exemption for, health, then I would like to see us do something where, in a certain degree, we decide what excessive heat is. Our kids don't have their masks on. Maybe we have the students wearing their masks when they're walking around the school as opposed to when they're sitting at their desks. Certain tasks, especially those tasks in regards to reading and writing and phonics, students need to have their see them out. So maybe their mask is down when they're doing those types of tasks.
But I don't see that as an if, I mean, to me, like, that could be valid whether or not there's a choice or not, right?
Oh, no, right, well, that's what I'm saying, if the parent choices doesn't apply, then at the very least, I'd like to see us not have our kids, and not that they would have been, not have our kids in masks from 7 to 3 o'clock. That parents are aware that there are a multitude of times during the day that the mask will not be on. Because it's to their social, emotional, and educational benefit.
So we can potentially do that simultaneously while trying to figure out if parents are going to have choice, right? I think the kids who are, parents want them to wear a mask might still support some breaks appropriate for them.
So if any other board members have any input on that, you know,
So basically-
in the coming days, please forward that to myself or Mr. Walton. And
We're just asking you to look into the options we have that would legally follow this directive. Is that what you're doing?
Yes, and we're looking at, as an example, the Middletown Township resolution, which some of it I would not recommend, some of it I said, I'll discuss that with Mr. Walton.
just for clarity purposes, though, the guidance document that all of you were given a couple of weeks ago will be going out tomorrow. That's just general guidance. If you guys want to start talking specifics, there's going to need to be an addendum because it's not fair to keep the parents waiting.
Oh, no, we absolutely, I mean, at this point, I don't think we're prepared to make that decision right on the spot now.
Okay.
So continue with the guidance that we've already agreed to, that will be going out tomorrow. And there obviously could be an addendum to that guidance moving forward. So, I mean, honestly, I try to be optimistic, and I think once the governor gets our letter, he's going to change course, and we want to be talking about this at our next meeting. So I continue to believe that. So that's where we stand at this point. Is there any other comments or questions regarding the masks by any board members? Is there any other new business that anyone would like to bring to the board? Hearing none, we have our second.
We don't have to vote on that, it's just gonna be done, right?
Correct. And then I would obviously, like I said, encourage board members, if they have specifics on that, I mean, this thing's constantly changing, so other districts are doing things. So as other districts do things, there may be other ideas. So if you come across something that you believe is relevant, please forward it. Don't.
Right, it can't be both myself and Mike, because, I mean, it's really going to need to be legally crafted on Mike's end, but I, certainly want to see that so Mike and I can have a conversation.
Sure.
But I mean, I'd be interested, Troy, in hearing from administrators and teachers, to me, if they're the ones that would know what's going on, when, what, you know what I mean? So I'd be interested in feedback on the actual people that work here.
We're going to have an open live chat tomorrow with our staff, so certainly generate some of that conversation.
Do we know if there's any districts right now that have implemented parent choices like
Like specific, like complete disregard for the executive order?
Yeah.
That I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's something this board's prepared to do, but at least
Maryland is the only other district that's done something with the exemption.
at least not in this state. I've heard in other states where they have actual prohibitions against mandates, that there's boards that have tried to mandate, so in the opposite direction. You know what I mean? So, right, which I assume would be what would be threatened to us if we tried to do that as well. So anyway, any other questions? Nothing else? With that, I will open our second public comment portion, 7:55. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? We're open to the public for comment. Feel free to step up to the microphone. State your name.
I'm Skylar, sixth grade teacher at River School. Thank you, board members, for hearing parents and taking a stand to express for our children. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Kevin Hill,
Good evening, Kevin.
taxpayer here in Franklin Township. I got here towards the end of the meeting. Was one of the options to become a co-plaintiff in a lawsuit against the governor, joining with parents' organizations or other organizations that have already filed suit?
That was something we discussed. We know of one suit, which is the resolution that we passed in support of. That's currently pending. I mean, we did discuss becoming a co-plaintiff, so to speak, but we didn't think that would be in the best interest of the district immediately. We didn't see the benefit of becoming a co-plaintiff at this time. So.
What is the strength of a letter to this particular governor in front of him?
Well, we're sending two letters. We're sending a letter to the governor, and we're also sending a letter in support to the attorney who's handling that suit, in support of that suit. So from a legal perspective, I don't know how much weight that holds. Maybe our solicitor can answer that. I guess when you're in front of a judge, if there's letters of support, that could make some sort of difference, I'm assuming.
That's the perfect
that's the purpose. But no, we're not a co-plaintiff in that suit.
Do we have any allies with our sister high school district in this town, Elsie? Would they consider jumping on board with Franklin? And do we have any other school districts in the region that are on the same page as our way of thinking here at the Franklin board?
I mean, unfortunately, that'd have to be a question you'd have to ask to those districts. I mean, we haven't specifically posed that position. I mean, I can ask the administrator, Mr. Walton, to reach out to
I mean,
her.
there's strength in numbers, and for Franklin to do this on its own is commendable, in my opinion. But, you know, there's strength in numbers, so we can reach out to Delsey, which is right here, and try to get them on board.
Yeah, I think in the normal course of action, as a courtesy, we would do that anyway, correct, Mr. Walton? Just keeping them abreast of, you know, our position on things.
Yeah,
So.
or the superintendent may want to find out if there's other middle school districts or grade school districts nearby, whether it's Salem County or Cumberland or Gloucester. I think that this governor's in for this way of thinking for the long haul. I don't think this is going to go away. So we're going to, if this is the way we think here at Franklin Township, we're going to need some other allies to jump on board with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Any other public?
Amanda Lemon. I just had a question as far as the legalities go. Might be a stupid question because I'm not a lawyer, but what is the fear? Are we afraid to be sued by the state? Are we afraid that the school district will lose funding due to us opposing or having some type of wording that in one way sort of undermines the executive order? Like, what are we scared of?
Well, the board has the obligation to abide by the law, and the law allows the governor to sign an executive order and has the power of law. So the Board of Education is not permitted to violate the law.
Okay, I understand that, my understanding is that an executive order is not a law.
It is the same as a law. It's called an executive order, but it's authorized by the legislature and has the same power as being a law.
Okay, and so what is the fear?
Well, it's violating any other law. There can be consequences as far as enforcement. I don't know what they may be. The state has various options, I'm sure, but I don't think they've had to exercise them as of yet.
Right. So, as far as knowing the risk in undermining that executive order, I guess you have to ask yourself the question, is that risk worth it for our children? Like, is that risk outweighing the social and emotional, psychological development of our children? Like, what's more important here? I know you're a lawyer, so I understand I don't know what your thoughts are in general, but I'm just putting it out there that you would think that, like, our kids would outweigh that risk.
Yeah, I think from a legal perspective, like you said, you know, Mr. Borelli can give his opinion. I mean, personally, and I can only answer for myself, but there really is no answer. Like, I don't really know what the repercussions of that would be. And as with everything with this COVID, nobody really knows anything about anything. So, you know, we're trying to do our best to work within the guidance of the executive order to accommodate as many people as humanly possible. So,
thank you for listening to us and you know, seeming like you are ready to work with us. Maybe I would suggest that you reach out to Middletown. I'm not sure if this is true, but I did hear that that's Governor Murphy's hometown.
I don't know.
So maybe reach out to them and to their board of ed and see what their thoughts are on the legalities. Like this gentleman behind me said, there's strength in numbers. Just a thought, maybe to reach out to them, like why are they willing
Yeah, again, I don't think they've actually, and I could be wrong, again, what I'm telling you is based on my knowledge, so take it with a grain of salt, is that they've enacted a policy outlining and guidance for some of the exemptions under the executive order. Like to Mr. Keene's question, like, is there anyone that's like openly defying the order? I don't believe that they're doing that, and I don't believe there is anyone currently doing that. So.
I think you're right, and I think that Middletown, just allowing parents to write a letter, basically, that the letter doesn't have to come from a doctor, it can come from a parent. Also in the executive order, what Mr., I can't read that far, but the lawyer wrote, or read, is that, you know, as far as being detrimental to their health, and in that wording, it doesn't say who has to determine that. So it doesn't say that a doctor needs to determine if it's detrimental to their health.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's what we'll be discussing further at our next meeting. So I can tell you that the guidance that'll be coming out tomorrow will give you a better indication of, you know, our current position on the exemptions and what's required in order to obtain one of those exemptions. As of right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Walton, you know, we'll be accepting a letter from any medical professional. There won't be any verification on that letter. So if your particular child, you know, qualifies for an exemption medically, if you could have any medical professional that you deal with on a regular basis write that letter. Yeah. So, and that's the position that we're currently.
And is there going to be disciplinary action for children who are not wearing masks, or who decide to take it off because they don't want to wear it anymore that day?
I'd have to defer to Mr. Walton on that.
And the guidelines that are coming out tomorrow?
Yeah, the answer is no on that. I mean, again, the executive order is the executive order. If a child refuses, we're simply going to hand them a mask and ask them to wear it. But I'm not putting an 8-year-old child in the middle of determining, is mom and dad right? Is the governor or the school district right? They don't understand that. So that's not a position the child should be in. So at that point, I've told the principals to pick up the phone and have a conversation with the parents and see if we can meet common ground.
Right.
Okay?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Seeing no one, I'd like to make a motion to close. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed, abstentions? Just real quickly, I just want to thank, you know, everybody from the public for coming out and voicing your concerns. I appreciate your being respectful to the board, and I appreciate my fellow board members taking the time to hear everyone and take everyone's comments into consideration. So, I mean, I think we're all in agreement that we're trying to do what's best for our students, staff, and keep everybody safe and keep schools open, keep the kids in school. So we'll get there, I promise. So with that, is there anything else from any board members? If not, I make a motion we adjourn. We do have our next meeting scheduled for September the 15th is our work session, and September 20th is a regular board meeting. So again, I wish everybody a good start to school. I make a motion we adjourn. Do I have a second? All in favor? Opposed, abstentions? No.